Hello and welcome again to Dr. English channel. This is Dr. Moafi. I'm a PhD in applied linguistics and I've been teaching English for many years now. Well, today's lesson is very important, so I want you to pay close attention. Let me start by this title, Differences Between Phonemic Symbols and English Alphabet. You know, every language, including English, has its own set of letters or characters, right? So we already know what the alphabet is for our indigenous or local languages. Every language, be it your mother tongue or a foreign language, has its own set of letters that we call alphabet, right? So alphabet consists of letters, characters, and they tell us about the sounds, right, in that language. Like, for example, we have 26 letters in the English language or in the English alphabet system. And it is related to the language writing system. And if you want to write or even read, for example, English alphabets, you are dealing with a capital A or a small a, right? Or capital B, a small b. Sometimes we call them uppercase or lowercase instead of capital letters and small letters, okay? So it's very important actually that we do learn all of these alphabets and of course, related to that language, the letters and characters that represent sounds for our reading and writing. But let me tell you something else. When you open up your dictionary, all right, not only do you see the alphabet of that language that you are aiming to learn, but also you will see the phonemic symbols, all right? What are phonemic symbols? Phone means sound. Phonemic symbols are the signs that, in fact, tell us about the sounds of a language. And it's a little bit different from the alphabet, although they take it actually from Greek or Latin letters, like, for example, the International Phonetic Alphabet, or what we otherwise known as IPA, that represent distinct sounds, phonemes, right? Actually, these phonemic symbols is a part of a larger, let's say, field of study that we call phonetics. And those who are engaged in linguistics normally deal with this very much in detail and in length. But these phonemic symbols, in fact, are related to our sound system, the language sound system, and they tell us how to pronounce a word. So it's very important for the pronunciation of the words. So what we are looking at is actually, the phonemic symbols are very important for listening and speaking rather than reading and writing that we have to learn in the alphabet system of the language that we are planning to learn. They appear in actually a pair of slashes, and normally, as you can see, this is an example I gave you, dad, then there's a slash, and then you see this sound which represents D sound. Normally, I don't call it D, you see? As in the above example, as far as alphabets is concerned, I told you about the capital letters and small letters like A, capital A, capital B, capital C, on to Z. But here we have a small a, B, and we call them A, B, C, D. But here in the phonemic symbols, we are not concerned with what? Letters. So we can't pronounce them as D or A or B or D, right? So we pronounce them as sounds like D sound. This is actually a symbol representing A. Actually, it's a vowel, but the first one was a consonant. So sometimes the letter C, right, or whether it is capital or small, can represent different sounds, as in cat. Although it starts with C, we pronounce it as k, cat. Or the other example, city, well, it starts with a C, a small letter C, but it is pronounced S sound, right? Like city. This is how we actually write them. And can you see this accent at the beginning of or before S? This represents diacritic or diacritic mark, which we call accent. So wherever it goes, we pronounce that syllable a little bit more strongly than the other syllables, okay? So phonemic symbols fall into consonants and vowels. Now, let's start with consonants, okay? Well, because it's kind of easier to talk about consonants. They're very much related to the sounds, or most of them, in fact, share something like the letters, the alphabetic letters. Like, for example, P is P, right? P sound, as you can see here, or in the example with cup, pull, cup. B, like bull or rob, right? F sound, fairy, life, as you can see. V, very, live. But this symbol might not be actually familiar to you. You do not know it, or you haven't seen it already. But if you have seen it in the dictionaries, it means th sound, like think, like thank you, like bath. All right. This is the sound exactly produced or articulated in your mouth, when the tip of your tongue, all right, touches the mouth ceiling just before the front upper teeth. Okay. And if this is the voiceless sound, but if you see the symbol like in then or with, well, this shows actually a voiced sound. Well, the place of articulation for this sound is similar to the sound above we just talked about. But this one is voiced. If you touch your Adam's apple and you see there is a kind of vibration, like a mobile vibration, like a jackhammer, when you touch it, it actually shakes all of your body or your fingers when you touch your Adam's apple. That's the difference between th and the sound. Actually, this is somehow applied to many pairs of sounds like p and b, right? F and k. These are the sounds that we usually distinguish by whether they are voiced or voiceless. Anyway, we go on with it. T sound like take, set. D sound like day, red. Sit sound like sing or rice, as you can see. Here, C is pronounced as s, rice. Well, Z sound like zoo, days, right? Be careful. Sometimes when you add the plural marker or plural S to the end of the countable nouns, it is pronounced as sit sound, sometimes zit sound, and sometimes is, depending on where they are applied or to what nouns and words, in fact, you add them. Well, and this symbol, looking like an integral, a mathematical sign, well, it shows, well, or represents sh sound, as you can see in show, right? Show, wish, wish, okay? But this one, this symbol is j sound. Well, like pleasure, as you can see, or occasion. This S is pronounced as j, as you can see. This symbol is che, like in cheap, and catch, as you can see, in a pair of parentheses. Oh, sorry, slashes. J sound like in jail, j, okay? Be very careful. I'm going to tell you something quite a little bit shocking to some, because this is the J sound according to the IPA system. But this, as you can see, looking like letter J represents Y sound. So there's a difference. So J, like in jail, bridge. Well, K, like case, take. G, this is G, not G. We don't pronounce it G like the letters or alphabet system. So it's G sound. Go or rock. My, come. No, like on. Some languages don't have this or don't, have this sound in common with English. So you have to be careful. This is the net sound somehow combined with get sound, but you don't continue to the end of get sound, okay? So this is how I can explain it to you in simple or plain language. Anyway, sing or finger. Well, let sound like love, like whole. R sound like round, carry. This is wit sound, well. Well, some languages don't have this sound, all right? Like German, for example, or like Persian. But English has both this wit sound and this vit sound. This actually is articulated by the touch of your upper front teeth on your lower lip. But this wit sound is the result of the lips circling or rounding, all right? Like a circle. When you, somehow round your lips without the touch of any teeth, this sound is produced or articulated like well. So be very careful when you pronounce it very well, okay? And this is yet sound like young. This is het sound like house, okay? These are all the consonant sounds we have in English. You may see some other consonants in your local language, all right? You have to be careful or ask your teacher about it. But now we come to, as you know, I said that the phonemic symbols consist of, let's say, consonants and vowels. So we started with consonants, and now we have to move on to vowels. All right. So vowels, a little bit more difficult to learn. So you have to be very, very careful. Okay. So this sound, as you can see, looking like the letter I with a colon in front of it. Okay. It's a long E. We call it laxed E, all right? Like seat, like feel, all right? But this one is E. Most languages have these two sounds, okay? Like set, like any. But this sound coming in between the two actually is a sound between the two sounds, all right? So it's not as long as this sound or as short as this sound. So it's something in the middle, like sit, like in, all right? Like it is, not eat is, which represent this sound, okay? And this sound, we already got to know this in the example I gave, like dad, like sat, as you can see, like match, all right? And this one, it's a long aw in American English, okay? March, as we can see. But this book that I took it from actually, was a British book, so it didn't write the r sound in the middle or between and ch sound. So don't be surprised if you don't see it in the British books, because normally they don't pronounce r sound in the middle, all right? Or even at the end, like the example of car, okay? But Americans usually pronounce all of the r sound with a little bit different pronunciation. The re in British, let's say, English, it's a normal re, mostly found or present in all languages or most languages. But the American type or pronunciation of re sound is a little bit different, as you can hear in the way I pronounce re sound or the examples we have, all right? It's like the tip of the tongue moved a little bit upward toward the ceiling of the mouth. So creating a kind of retroflex type of, echoing sound like this, okay? So anyway, this is the example of aw, like long aw, all right? And this one is a short aw, by the way. Much, front, like mother. But father follows this pattern, okay? As you can see here, the example with this one, this is the British pronunciation, after. Okay, as you can see, even at the end, they put it in a parentheses, the red sound, okay? But what we are focusing on now is not the red sound, because I already explained it. Now it's ah. This is the British pronunciation of after, or class, or glass, or pause, or class, right? But Americans normally pronounce them after, or class, glass. Well, now we are looking at this phonemic symbol, all right? Like pot, like gun, okay? This one changes in American English to this one, aw, long aw, pot, gone, like dog, okay? And you have to be also careful about this sound, because this is totally British. Of course, Americans also follow this pronunciation symbol or phonemic symbol when it is followed by r sound, like port. But with the other example, British people pronounce it this sound as a kind of O that comes from deep down your throat, law, right? Law. But Americans pronounce it aw, just like this one. As you have witnessed, I told you this sound in American English follows or is equivalent to the long aw, as well as this sound. Well, unless it is followed by r sound like this example, port. So we don't pronounce it in American English as part, okay? So it would be very funny and quite strange. Anyway, so if this sound is followed by r sound, we pronounce it just like the British people somehow, port, although it is impacted by the r sound after it, so it is overshadowed. But this one, follow aw. And now we come to this sound. Be very careful, okay? Before I'll tell you about this, you need to know O sound, like this example, O. This is a simple O. Of course, in British English, it's a combination of two sounds that we call diphthongs, double vowels, okay? As you can see, double vowels. No, open. But this is a normal O, mostly present in let's say, lots of languages in the world. But this sound is in the middle or between this O and oo, food, group, right? But this one is good, like goodbye, could, should, you know? It's in the middle between oo and o, okay? Now, this is a short ah, as I already told you about it. This is a long ah, this is a short ah, and this is a long e, right? A long e. And this is a British phonemic symbol, by the way, like turn, because they don't pronounce the sound in the middle, or word. But Americans pronounce it as e, a normal e, like a normal e, because Usually we have red sound after it, right? Like turn, like word, like fur, for example, the fur of the animals, the skin of some particular animals. Anyway, this sound is so prevalent, so common, so widespread in the English language pronunciation or phonemic symbols or sound system that it assumes a particular title. We call it schwa. Okay, schwa. And this schwa is available or present in many, many English words. So be careful about this. Maybe your language doesn't have this in common with English, okay? Like away. This actually is articulated somehow in the middle of your throat or at the back of your mouth, basically, all right, to be more precise. Have you noticed that when you refer to a doctor, if you have a sore throat, or for example, let's say a problem with your tonsil, and the doctor puts a stick of wood in your mouth to hold your tongue down to be able to see the back of your mouth, right? So the sound you produce, or the doctors tell you to say this is not ah, right? This is a kind of ah that is articulated at the back of your mouth. So I'm talking about that sound, okay? So away. It's not ah, it's not it's not e, and it's not ah, or it's not o, okay? So a little bit difficult, and you have to practice doing it or keep practicing and pronouncing this sound so that you will be able to master it. Like collect, like until, all right? Of course, sometimes Americans pronounce it differently. Anyway, now we move on to the double vowels or diphthongs. These were the single vowels. This is a list of double vowels. As you can see, we pronounce this together as a, like take, wait. I, like mine, light. Oi, like oil, like boy. This is I already talked about. Oh, no, open. But British people pronounce it as no, open. All right, a little bit different from American, but a very slight difference. So we can somehow ignore it. This is ow, like house, like now. This is ia, especially in British English, like here. But Americans usually forget about this schwa sound. They pronounce it here. And dear, because mostly they are followed by red sound, as you can see. Of course, British people put them in a pair of parentheses because normally they don't end up pronouncing it at the end of the words or in the middle of the words. Anyway, this is air sound, just like the sound above. Again, this is very much British. Well, although some Americans also pronounce it, of course, depending on where they are residing in America. Whether they are in the north, normally they pronounce it, and in the middle or Midland, for example, or the Dixieland, southern United States, they normally pronounce it. So this is air, because they don't pronounce the red sound in British English, so they have this sound, or where, right? But in American English, so we forget about this schwa sound, okay, as in the example above. So you would end up pronouncing it in American English as air, and this is where, right? Well, and the last diphthong we're going to talk about is tor. Again, this is followed normally by red sound, as you can see in the two examples given by this book, all right? Or like tor or endure. This is British, but Americans usually forget about this schwa sound. So you would end up pronouncing it in American English as tor or endure, right? Even if you have a schwa sound at the end, or you hear that, this is very short, and this is very, somehow small in comparison with the British system. So these were all of the sounds in English, okay? And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.